There has been a lot going on about Dr. Bryant and is she real? Is she fake? And in this video, you're going to hear from me, a person that provides mental health services and a person who has also went through their doctoral program. This video is not about coming and trying to cancel her or anything. If you want to truly get a thorough review of what is happening right now with Dr. Bryant, this video is for you. Let's get into it. Welcome to The Becoming. My name is Dr. Kervins Clement, and on this channel, we help people become the person that they've always wanted to be and struggle to become. And so, this is a very sensitive topic for a lot of people, and I want to make sure to come at this video with a lot of intentionality and thoughtfulness, right? Because, like I said earlier in this intro, I'm not a random person that just want to give their opinion, right? I provide clinical services. I provide mental health services Monday through Friday, and sometime on the weekends if I'm doing an intensive. And I also have went through my doctoral program, and so this is going to be a thorough breakdown because I want to make sure to honor Dr. Bryant and also use this situation as an opportunity to teach people because a lot of people don't know the differences in the mental health field. And there's a lot of people who are claiming to be relational experts or coaches or mental health providers. And there is a big difference between being a counselor, being a coach, and all these different words that people use to symbolize that they help people. And so, with that being said, let's start off with the Joe Budden video. And what I'm going to do is react to this video where, as Dr. Bryant is sharing her story, I will provide feedback as she's doing that. And so, let's do it.
Dog, I was up till 4 in the morning watching interviews of this nigga. When I opened this motherfucking laptop,
And sorry for the profanity.
this ain't off the dome. Here.
Well, I see what you're doing.
But where did you get your start?
All right.
My start as far as like a therapist, I started off as a marriage, family, and child therapist about 18 years ago. Before I obtained my doctorate degree in counseling psychology. Once I
So I'm just going to take no off the top. So our counseling field is also messy. Here's what I mean by that. So there are marriage and couple and family therapists. And for example, like me, I'm a licensed mental health counselor. Now I got my master's in MFT, which is marriage, couple, and family therapist. I use couple because some people don't identify with the word marriage and they rather use couple. That's a whole different video. But I just wanted to point out that our profession also is not helping this conversation by using different words to describe similar things. Now, there is a difference between a counselor and a therapist and all that. But what I'm trying to communicate that is that even within our profession, we use these words interchangeably. And there is a difference between being a counselor and being a therapist, even though you will see someone who identifies as marriage and family therapist, and also for me, a licensed mental health counselor, right? And so we had to go through the master's program and do all those different things. So there are similarities for sure. And there's a difference between a licensed mental health counselor and a pastoral counselor, right? Now, they're still using that word counselor, but they didn't have to go through a licensing board, and they also didn't have to go through a master's program to be a pastoral counselor, right? And so it's just so messy. There's not a lot of clarity around this. And so this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video. So that's a tad bit in regards to some of the confusion about a therapist, a counselor, and how to navigate that.
became a doctor of psychology, I transitioned from a therapist to a psychology expert in private practice. And so I
So I want to point out one of my issues with some of the things that happen with Dr. Bryant. So she uses a lot of counseling terminology. For example, private practice. What does that mean, Curvins? A private practice is for someone who is not working in a community agency. So, for example, I have a private practice. It's called Clement Counseling Consulting, PLLC. And so, in this private practice, I provide mental health services, I do a lot of trainings. Um, I also do this under my business as well, like what you're watching. And so, my private practice allows me to really do all the things that I want to do, right? So my intention with Dr. Bryan is that she uses that language, although she's not practicing under that umbrella. And that can create some confusion for people who are not able to parcel out the difference. And that, yes, she's saying that she has a private practice, but she's also saying that she's not a counselor, right? And so that's some of the confusion. My tension with her is that if you are a coach, just use coach language, right? Coaches won't say that they have their own practice or they have a private practice. They will say that they have a coaching business, right? And so that's one of the tensions that I have with her is that she uses a lot of counseling language, although she's not a counselor. Um, And then also another thing that I will say is that, you know, in this segment that we just watched, she says that I'm a psychology expert. And what that means is that although she graduated from a doctoral program as a psychologist, she didn't go get her license. Okay. So I just want you to clock that she's not claiming to be a psychologist. She's saying she's a psychology expert, meaning that she has gone through school and got information about psychology. And so I just wanted to point that out too, as well.
No longer practice under a license.
And why
I now am in private
you're
practice.
making all the money now?
That's what I'm saying. And that's what people don't understand, right? So just to educate some folks a little bit, a license is really only needed so you can bill insurance. And then
Okay. So this is a yes and. Okay. So you do need a license to bill an insurance, right? For example, on my case, so I have people who are private pay, and I also have people who go through insurances. Now, there's a whole complication that she's going to speak to about insurance. So I'm going to let her talk about it, and I'm going to add some to it. But to be very clear, the most important reason to why I have a license is to ensure that I honor the people that I work with. What does that mean, Curvins? With a license, I have an ethics board, right? And my ethics board define how I operate as a counselor, right? Meaning that everything that Curvins wants to do doesn't happen, right? Because there are decisions that were made in regards to what it means to be a good counselor. And from those ethics, I have to follow. Let me give you a really recent example. So I have the opportunity to work with black men. Now, I have a black man and he has a heart for black men, and he also happens to be my client. Now, this client is a client that I have to be very intentional with, because if it wasn't for our relationship, which is me being his counselor, in another life, I would be really close friends with this person because he's a really cool dude and he's really about doing his work. And he also has a lot of passions that I have, right? Now, this particular client asked me for a business proposition, which is because we both have passion for working with black men. And in this business opportunity, I will keep it 100 with you. It has the possibility to be very successful. Now, regardless of if I like the idea or have a passion for the idea, as a counselor, my ethics say dual relationship is unacceptable. What is the dual relationship? Which is that I'm your counselor and I'm also your friend. I'm your counselor and I'm also your supervisor. I'm your counselor and I'm also your mentor, right? So with this particular individual, although we have similar passions and there would be great opportunity to make money, I had to submit to my ethics. And so that's the reason why a license is very important, is because regardless of how I feel, I have to follow that ethic book. Because if I don't follow it and something happens, you get to sue me as a client. And so that is the most important reason why license is important and why licenses are in place. And so I disagree with her that a license is only for billing insurance. There's a part of that that's true, and the most important piece is it protects people who are seeking mental health services. That's the number one reason why licenses are created and are there. So let's continue.
Let me go a step further. Majority of people who know that in order to bill insurance as a therapist or a physician or a psychologist, psychiatrist, you have to diagnose.
Okay.
Most people don't want to have a diagnosis on their record. So what do they rather do? Pay out of pocket.
That's what
And
I do.
so when I realized
So I love it. Very good, right? I also have clients who, because a lot of people don't understand about diagnosis, which is why I take diagnosing people very seriously. When you diagnose people, it goes on your record, right? Last year, me and my wife was looking for insurance, and we're going through through my business to provide insurance for our family, and we went through private insurance. And one of the things that happened was, if I had certain diagnoses on my record, I would not have been able to go through private insurance to get insurance. And so insurance goes on your permanent record. Let me say that one more time. Diagnoses go on your permanent record. And so she is absolutely correct that there are some people, high profile people, that do not want anything attached to their personal information. And so they pay for private pay. Now, the challenge is that not everybody can do that. And so they're not able to do it. So they got to go through insurance. So I got to give them a diagnosis. And it doesn't mean that people who go private pay, I don't diagnose them. I do. The only thing is that as when you go through insurance, I have to submit the diagnosis and they clock that diagnosis when they pay for your counseling sessions. And so a private pay, they're paying private pay, which is why it's called private pay. So your business is kept only with you. And so if I diagnose you, for example, with depression, the only people that know about you being diagnosed as depressed is me and you, right? And with insurance, it's me, your insurance company, and you, and they file it under your personal information. And so she is absolutely correct. And then there's also situations, for example, like I specialize in working with individuals struggling with addiction. And so particularly sex addiction. I can't say that word because I'm going to be censored. And so with S addiction, it's not in the DSM. And so there are people who come to me for that treatment. And because it's not in the DSM, I can't submit that to the insurance companies. And so they have to pay private pay. That's a whole nother video for another day. And so she is telling the truth that there are challenges when it comes to insurances. And so private pay does make it more easier. And when she's about to talking a little bit about making money, with insurance, I can charge you $5,000 per session, and insurance will come back and tell you this is how much you need to charge. And some insurances will try your face and charge and pay you $50 or $60 per session, and which is why people hate insurance. And so there is an aspect to that as well, where, for example, if you're doing private pay, you can charge them your true fee and they'll have to pay it. And so those are some of the challenges that she will speak to and that are true when it comes to insurances?
Realized that I thought, well, okay, it may create a gap within our community, our Black community, who can't afford health care or afford mental health services. But it also is a way that, as a therapist, two things: you can obviously make what you deserve, because therapy is real. We're giving everything we have in there.
True.
And we're unpacking shit, and we're helping you process through things. So
Absolutely.
it's not us sitting there, well, if you're an effective therapist, saying, tell me more.
Correct.
You should be unpacking.
Correct.
You should be able to take somebody and drive with them to their goal and give them tools. So anyways, when I realized that, I thought, well, I'll just be out of pocket.
You see, this is what I appreciate about her. Although people are questioning her credentials, some of the things that she say be on point, which is, yes, if you are working with a good counselor, you're not talking about how does that make you feel. Like you're not doing that. Like that's Hollywood stuff. Like when we're in counseling, we're going deep. Like what does that mean? And really trying to get underneath so we can disrupt the pattern. And so she is absolutely correct with that.
Too, when I tell my clients the truth, is that in order to bill insurance, I have to diagnose you. And you only get about 6 weeks. In order for me to get 6 more weeks approval, guess what? I have to say that you are slightly improving, but really,
Not there yet.
come on
Still
now.
fucked
So if anything happens,
Yeah. So there are some insurances that are very restrictive, and that they give you a limited amount of sessions that they will cover until you have to pay yourself. And so that is true. Not all insurances do that. There are some insurances that will cover you for as long as you need it. And so I would say most insurances do that, only within certain insurance dynamics where there are some I'm forgetting the name of it, where you go through your company and they'll give you like 10 sessions, they'll give you like 15 sessions, they'll give you like 6 sessions, where they'll say, okay, we'll cover those sessions for free, and then after that you'll have to pay a copay. So not every insurance is that restrictive. There are some that are that restrictive, and so there's some truth to what she's saying right there.
in the court of law, if anything happens with employment, that is on your record forever. And so I'm not saying that folks should, not go get therapy if they have to bill insurance. Get the help that you need. I advocate for that. I advocate for therapy being a lifestyle, not just a intervention, right? It should be a preventative measure. But I am saying that for me, I'm in private practice. I make much more money. It allows me to have more leverage and really be hands-on with my clients.
Yeah.
I'm not binded by BBS, the Behavior Board Science rules and regulations and ethics. And so it just opened up a whole nother, floor and industry for me. And then from there, I wrote my book and I started speaking.
Here's my intention with that, right? Because a lot of people are doing this. Even some counselors are leaving the counseling profession and becoming coaches, right? And I understand why they're doing that, because there is a lot of restrictions. And for example, with my license, I could only work in my state, North Carolina. I can't work anywhere else, right? Unless I go pursue a license in another state. And so that's another restriction. Another restriction is that there are other things that I cannot do, right? In regards to relational dynamics, I can't claim to know certain things. So what I'm not saying is that these are bad things, right? These are very important things. And restriction is good. And when you become a coach, there's a lot more flexibility. But the thing that I want you to hear, though, is that although there's a lot more flexibility, you, the client, it's more dangerous for you, right? Because there's a lot of ways that you could potentially get harmed, right? For example, for me as a licensed mental health counselor, I can't claim that I specialize working with individuals struggling with disordered eating. Why is that? Because practicing within your competent, that's an ethics, that's an ethical code, right? That I got to follow, right? So that means that practicing within my scope of practice is that I have to get extensive training in certain areas that I say I'm an expert in, right? I specialize in addiction. I have a lot of training in addiction. I have certifications in addiction, right? I'm a S therapist, SEX therapist. What does that mean? That means that I have went through an extensive training program, ASECT, to get certified as a S therapist. And so these are things that you have to go through to be able to operate under your license. Now, when you're a coach, you can say you're whatever. You can say you're the king of the universe, and there's no repercussions to that. And so, you know, although there's a lot of restrictions, it's better for you as the consumer, as the person who is trying to get help, because the more flexibility people have, the higher risk they could damage you, right? There's already some counselors that are questionable, right? This is the reason why one of the top main issues, ethical board issues, is counselors having SEX with their client and their counselors. And so if people that have licenses that literally tell them that they're not supposed to do that, that if you are a licensed mental health, I think you either cannot have a relationship with the client until 5 years after your treatment ends, or something to that degree. And some ethics say you can't have no relationship with them. Okay. And so with that being said, although she's talking about this sense of freedom, that sense of freedom could be very dangerous for you as a client. Okay. So just be careful.
On platforms. And when I started speaking on platforms, it became an order. I never had an agent. I, never had a manager. It's really just me showing up in my authenticity of who I am.
It seems like, I know therapy goes in a lot of areas, but it seems like one of the things that you really light up for is relationship conversations.
Relationship, Mark, and trauma.
Why?
Because I think that it doesn't matter our race, our gender, it doesn't matter our background. One thing that we all can relate on is adversity and some fucking trauma. It doesn't matter what race we are. You can sit a white person from the trailer park here and a black.
I appreciate what she's saying here, because in a world where division is everywhere, where people are trying to divide us by our race, by our gender, by politics, I appreciate what she's saying here, in that when you boil it down, we are all humans trying to make sense of this opportunity we have called life. And so when you boil it down to its essence, you see woundedness. And regardless of if you're wealthy or poor, white or black, if you're struggling with grief, if you're struggling with depression, it looks the same. And so I do appreciate what she's saying, in that, like, when you boils down to our essence, woundedness, or what I'm forgetting the word that she refers to it as, pain points. That's what she uses. And trauma, it helps us understand that we're going through the same thing. It just looks different. And that's a really good opportunity for a connection to be cultivated. And so, very good on her statement there. Now, what I want to do is get back to one of the things that she is also being called out for, which is her dissertation and being a doctor. Okay. So in a video on the breakfast show, she was asked this question, and we'll watch it together and we'll respond to it. All right. So I'm going to just be very clear with y'all. Going through a doctoral program is not a joke. It is not a joke. All right. There are still some woundedness that me and my wife have to go through and heal from because of the doctoral program, right? Because it takes everything out of you. Okay. So with that being said, that's the reason why I'm using Dr. Bryant, because if she did go through a doctoral program, I want to give respect where respect is due. So I'm just be very clear with that. Now, with that being said, here's my tension. I'm going to speak to my experience. I went to a 3-year doctoral program And in this 3 years, you have 2 years of foundational coursework where you minor, which is a cognate, and something. I minored in HDFS, Human Development and Sciences. And then my doctoral program was in counselor education supervision. In those 2 years, you take all these classes. Now, the last year of your doctoral program, you have to do your dissertation. Dissertation is basically a research project. Okay. That's what dissertation is. So in this research project, what you have to do is you have to do a lot of reading, a lot of reading, and a lot of reading. And you have to make sense of it. And after you make sense of it, you have to decide, okay, where's the gap in the literature? And then you got to try to figure out how you're going to fill that gap. So then after you do that, then you have to go to your dissertation committee or, your dissertation committee, and you have to submit what we call a proposal, right? And in this proposal, you have to basically provide what your dissertation is going to be on. How do you plan on doing it? And your committee, your dissertation committee, will give you feedback about your research project, and they will shred everything. If you have really good people on your committee, they will give you really good feedback because they want you to have a very powerful research project. And so after they give you feedback, then they make a decision, either a yes or a no. If it's a no, you got to redo that process again, go fix what they told you to fix, and then you have to resubmit it. If they tell you a yes, then you move on to the next phase, which is you submitting it to the IRB. And the IRB then decides and gives you more feedback. Then you have to edit that feedback. Then you do your research project. Now, here's my tension when I hear this. It's very hard for me to believe that there's no evidence of her dissertation. It's really hard for me to believe that. And here's why. After you submit your dissertation to your IRB, you do your research project. After you do your research project, you have to defend it. Okay? And then after you defend your dissertation, you then have to submit your dissertation to dissertation pub sub. Like, I didn't prepare for this, but I can go on dissertation pub. It's like a dissertation journal for all my people who are not in higher education. It's a journal for dissertations. I can go on that journal right now and find my dissertation. And so my tension with what she's saying here is that although you do not have access to your she says she had access to her transcript, even though she doesn't have any there's no records showing that she completed her dissertation, there's absolutely no way that it would be removed from the journal database. There's just no way. There's just no way. Because once it gets accepted into the journal, it's there for life. Like, I can go find dissertations that were published in 2005 in that journal, right? Because that journal is there for people who have finished their doctoral program and submitted to the journal. And here's the FYI. You can't graduate until that is accepted. And so into that the journal. And IRB won't let you do it until your dissertation is finished. And so again, if she's went through a doctoral program and completed it, I want to honor and give her the dignity and the love that she deserves. And it's really hard for me to believe that she completed her dissertation and there's no way she can find information about it. Even, like, where's your PowerPoint for your defense? Where's your PowerPoints for your proposal? There's just so many different things that you can find that would be that can provide evidence to you having done and completed a doctoral program. And so that's the reason why I broke all that down for you, is because it's so many different steps along the way that are evidence, or AKA receipts, that you can provide to show that you went through the whole process of finishing a doctoral program. And so that is my contention. Now, let's bring it back to, why did I do this video? Why do I do this video? I did this video for you. And the reason why is because there are people out there who claim to be things that they're not. And you have to be very intentional about what you listen to and who you allow into your heart to influence how you show up. Now, even in this segments that I watch, there are things that she said that I do agree with, right? And so I believe in God, and God can use anybody, okay, to help people move forward. And so I'm not speaking to her as a human. What I'm saying for you is that you have to make intentional decisions on about who you're allowing to guide you through this life, right? For example, if you ask me, hey, Currens, where you get your doctorate from? University of North Carolina at Greensboro. Hey, where you get your master's from? The University of Florida. Like, these things can quickly be proven. In our society, we've gotten to a place where when people call people out, like, it gets real sketchy about providing evidences for things. And you just got to be careful, y'all, because when you go to counseling and when you go to seek help, you are submitting to somebody to guide you through your healing process. There's a submission that's happening. And you want to make sure that the person that you're submitting to and allowing to influence who you are and your essence, you want to be very careful that these people are living out what they're speaking to you. Because as you know, you can look back over the last year, there are a lot of people that have been exposed for claiming to be something that they're not. And so you just want to make sure that as a person, I'm not telling you one way or the other. Like I said, I didn't, in this whole entire video, I didn't say she's not this. What I'm saying is, based off my experience of what I've been through, I'm struggling to believe that, right? And so I want you to take the information that I share in this video and make your own decision. And I hope that it starts to cultivate questions for you, right? Because again, in this world where we're trying to cancel everybody that we disagree with, that we don't like, it's just, it can be very dangerous, right? And you just want to step back and think critically. What does this mean for me? What questions do I have? Do I agree with what Curvin said? Do I agree with what Dr. Bryant, like, ask yourself that question. Don't allow somebody to just influence you, aka brainwash you, without asking, is that a good advice? Is that true? So you're not just following someone blind. And she said that in the conversation with Joe Budden, that whole show. I don't watch that show, but that was a good interview that I wanted to use to have this conversation with you. And one thing that she talked about was this idea of, like, you just got to be careful of who you follow and who you allow to influence you, right? And they're influencers because they influence people. And so you just want to be very intentional about who you're allowing into your heart and the people you're allowing to influence you. And so with that being said, I wanted to give my take, a thorough take for the whole situation that's going on right now with Dr. Bryant. Again, all love to her. I do not know her at all, right? This is just a true, I would say, breakdown of just all the things that is going on right now regarding her. I wish her nothing but the best. I hope that her books sells because, again, like I said, in every story people can learn from. In every story people can learn from. And so if she provides the opportunity for people to heal, I love it, right? We just got to be careful about who we allow to influence us. With that being said, there will be videos that are popping up right now that are connected to my channel. and that I have done. And so please check them out. If you appreciate this video, please like, subscribe, and until next time, change is possible.